Right, welcome everybody to another episode of Chris and Dave's Reality TV Cast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris. My co-host and very good friend is Dave.
Hey there, Chris, and hello to our listeners out there. Welcome to Chris and Dave's Reality TV Cast. We're covering the Traitors UK Season 2, Episodes 1 through to 3, Chris. Now, Chris, I was sort of misremembering this. We did cover this, but kind of as a Patreon only, one episode and done episode. So where do you want to start with this season?
Well, I am laughing again because they will keep saying this now, but we have a thing where we put our names in, and I'm called Claudia's Fringe for this episode, and you're called Definitely Maybe a Faithful. And I didn't realise that someone did the intro, and that's what I started laughing at. I was like, oh, you dickhead. Anyway, you're right, Dave. We covered this as like a one and done. I got off, I think a few weeks after it finished, we were told by my brother-in-law and sister-in-law to get on it. I mean, Sam watched it, binged the 12 episodes on the BBC iPlayer. Then I messaged you saying, Dave, you've got to watch it. I remember at the time we were covering Love Island, and I don't know if a Master was about to start, but we were really under the cosh. But remember you binging it and going, mate, this was fantastic. So much so that it won a BAFTA for the best reality TV show in the UK. Loads of plaudits. Apparently, 34, I'm going to throw stats at you now, Dave. 34 million people have watched the first series on the iPlayer. It's the biggest show on the BBC platform last year, streaming platform, that's been watched. And apparently it relates, Dave, to a younger audience, and it was the biggest watched TV show on BBC for from like sort of teens up to mid-20s, which I thought we talked about this yesterday, but when we did another podcast, but I thought this would be for us, our age sort of thing, especially with the reality stuff. So it seems to have hit across such a broad spectrum of ages, and obviously it helps the contestants are all relatable to different age groups. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one.
Well, I don't know how they get those stats because, no,
I don't.
So, but however, you mentioned this to me on our preview episode, and I thought, I'd have thought it'd have been an older kind of thing. It's like, if you're into a bit of Miss Marple or Murder on the Orient Express or playing a bit of Cluedo, it kind of speaks to people like that. So I didn't think younger people would be that into it. However, Chris, my lad has been watching this season with me. So he's 13. And a weird thing happened yesterday where, so my eldest joined for the third episode and was instantly hooked. And then I said, well, obviously we're going to have to wait till midway through next week before we can see the end of the cliffhanger, which I'm sure we'll get onto. But I said, we've got season 1 there. Season 1 was pretty amazing. We can go back and watch that. So I ended up putting it on, and then my middle daughter joined. So I've got all my kids, and they are all hooked. It's supposed to be like a movie night, we'll pick out a movie or whatever, but they just couldn't stop watching. At the end of every episode, they're like, do we really want to watch a movie? No, let's watch this. So, Chris, we binged episodes 1 through to 8 yesterday of season 1. God. And I've got to tell you, it is good. It is so good. Even going back, even though I remember kind of how it finished and some of the major plot points, but you sort of forget some of the details, and that you can see why it kind of caught fire. It's just amazing set of characters, and I was a bit skeptical. Could this season 2 be as good as season 1? But I do think it started off well. But it was just an interesting observation with you saying about it catching the attention of the younger demographic as well. But I literally saw it for my own eyes. It does definitely seem to. There's just something about it that draws people in.
Yeah, there is. And I think as well, like one of the things they looked at with this series was so spoilers, if you didn't watch Traitors Series 1, I'm going to spoil some in 3, 2, 1. Please turn off if you've not watched it. But there's a massive twist where somebody basically two people get booted off, don't they? Within seconds, they go on the Orient Express train up to Scotland, and then it's like, get in a line. Whoever's going to win it, whoever's like the least thingy, blah, blah, blah. And then the two at the bottom, they just bin them off. And it was like, what the hell's going on? However, there is a twist to that. But however, we were sort of like, what the hell is this show? So they've not done that this year because they said, obviously, we talk about all the time, don't we, didn't the preview, the second series syndrome. How are they going to attack it? How is they going to keep it fresh? Well, they've been that off completely. And then this series as well, they've got the shield, as we said in the preview. So which can protect people from being booted off if they win the challenges. So I'm quite interested to see, does it still have the drama or how that plays out? However, the first 3 episodes have been fucking brilliant. So where do you want to start then, Dave? When everyone meets up, or, how the traitors become?
Yeah, we're just like a bigger picture kind of macro observation. So obviously for season 1, the people going on the show, they'll obviously know what the premise is, but this is a new show. But they'll know kind of that it's a game and you're going to have to be tactical and stuff. So lots of people would have applied, and then these would have been the best cast that they could assemble. So all of them thought that they were great game players, coming into it. However, there's a season 2 thing. So all of these would have watched this season. They probably watched seasons from other countries as well, and they're like, yeah, I've totally got this. And one of the things that you could see in those season 1s was the herd mentality. The fact that if someone just latches on to the smallest little thing and then they speak to someone else, it's like, oh, Chris, when he was drinking his tea, held his finger up. Well, that's like a tick. It shows he's nervous or something. And then they go, oh yeah, I agree with that. And then there's this weird herd mentality thing that happens, and they end up singling out and booting out a faithful. But there's such a momentum about it that it seems unstoppable. I think this season 2. Cast, I think they're all thinking, yeah, we're not going to do that. Yeah, evidence suggests they totally are, because we're seeing exactly the same kind of human behavior, and that's one of the things that I find fascinating about it. But I mean, should we go through the traitors? So again, it's the same sort of format, isn't it? So Claudia has them all in the round table, and then she's walking around. We're obviously getting the edited, cut down view. You get the impression a lot of these things go for so much longer than we're actually seeing. And then she picks out her traitors. So she picks Ash, Paul, and Harry. So what's your perspective? Let's talk a little bit about each traitor and how good they are at playing the game, do we think? And will they be there for the long haul? Because I mean, last season was brilliant, wasn't it? Because the traitors played a great game up until about halfway through, and then it all started to crumble, and Wilf was throwing everyone under the bus. So, how do we think this is going to go? Should we start with Ash first? Because she's, jumping forward to episode 3. I mean, she's under a little bit of pressure, isn't she? She's kind of under the spotlight with a few people. And, I'm curious what you think of Ash.
Well, I think one of the things I love, Dave, is that, I know with the police, people, in life and people who do body language, so you've got the police interviewing people, body language experts, but, people who are in this sort of situation where they've got to sort of suss people out, suss the body language out, it's their job to get the information, so someone to give that information out, whether it convicts them or whatever. And what I love on this is, some of these people obviously read like body language fucking books, or they've probably gone down a YouTube rabbit hole, which is probably what I would do, Dave, and think that I'm fucking some I'm Columbo or something. I know who the traitors are. Just one more thing, and don't do that in the workplace. But anyway, Dave,
good Eric Hitchmo impression there.
Anyway, so. When you're watching it, what I love, and you're right, the sort of pack mentality of it all, they're all shitting themselves. They're all panicking about getting booted off, right? So I think out of all the traitors, Paul, so about Ash, I thought Ash did okay, but then it started to unravel and it became that conversation, which I know I get told off for. Less is more sometimes, just say less. And then you don't expose yourself. And if you flip Ash to Paul, I think Paul's played the perfect game. I know in episode 3 there was a bit, someone mentioned him. However, he's not been too vocal, whereas Ash has been, and she's tried to sort of steer people away from her being a traitor. And I think it looks too obvious to me, Dave. I think that's, I mean, there's worse people than Ash who's done that. Someone who's not even a fucking traitor. And we'll talk about Brian later. But Paul, I thought, and Miles as well. Paul and Miles did very well. Harry's probably the one who'll stay the longest. But at the moment, Paul and Miles have been good. But I think Paul's the standout traitor because he's got nobody. He's on his case, which is really good.
Yeah, he is playing a good game, isn't he? You can see he's trying to be, not stand out. He's not at the front of every conversation. He did get mentioned, but I feel like at this stage, people are just sort of throwing names around because they've not got a clue. And the thing that they're falling into again that I can see is that they're making judgments based on what they think of the person, not the fact that it could be anyone. It's Claudia who picked, or probably, there's a production team who probably, said it's right. It's going to be these three people. But, I mean, Diane was singling out, what's the guy's name? I'm scrolling through now.
Which one? Not Brian.
Oh, no, it wasn't Brian. Oh, it's going to do my head in now.
Ross? Was it Ross? The one with the glasses? The one?
No, it wasn't Ross. Anthony. She's picking out Anthony because he wouldn't move in the line. And everyone was stressing because they've seen season 1, spoilers, and what kind of happens there. But, and he wouldn't move, apparently. Now I'm kind of thinking, well, two things there. If you are stood in a particular space, do you have an obligation to move if someone's trying to nudge you out the way? I'm not sure you do. But also, that's got nothing to do with if he's a traitor or not.
No.
Diane was going after him just purely because of this personal interaction that she didn't like with him. But yeah, getting back to the traitors, I do think Harry's playing an interesting game as well. You're right. I do think Paul is the best tactically, and he's doing it a bit like the season 1 Traitors who did it quite well, where they're really playing up being the faithful, aren't they? And even when they're going through the tasks and things, it's like, should we go for a shield? Oh, let's get the money first, and then we'll worry about the shield. Oh no, you think we should go for the shield? Oh, right, okay, well, we should do that, but I think it was Andrew who said, oh, yeah, it was Andrew who said we should go for the shield. Ooh, it's a bit suspect, isn't it? So, so I think that's good. Whereas Harry's playing the game of, I haven't got a clue. Sorry. He's sort of playing it really dumb, isn't he? He's like, almost playing the Aaron from season 1 role where it's like, the lovable little scamp, and so, I do feel like Ash is probably not going to come out. I think she might be the first traitor to go, even if she doesn't get picked at this last kind of round table, just because she was thinking that the traitors are doing great, and our names haven't come up at all. Well, yeah, it has, but people haven't said it to you.
Yeah,
and I just think she. I think it was not Claudia, Sonia. So Sonia, when she just asked her the question, are you a traitor? she looked so guilty that she was like, no.
Yeah.
I thought, and again, we have the hindsight, don't we? Or we can see everything. So, we can see all the, who's the traitor, what the conversations are and what have you. But so you're looking at it and you think, well, come on, surely it's obvious, she's giving it to you right there. But no, I think, I think Ash will definitely go first. I think Paul will be there for the long haul,
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. And you know what, Dave? When you watch it, I think Paul's delivery is very good, but I don't know what it is when I'm watching it. But I'd sit there, and me and Sam were saying, I think Sam said it actually. She was like, how do they get them all in the room? I'd love to have like a behind the curtain thing, how the other contestants don't know where they're going. Do you know what I mean? They must all be locked in a bedroom, and then they sort of get people to come, to and say, right, your time's now, or they keep it quiet, and then they go in this cauldron thing. Because even when people are in like the fire room, where are the others? I know they edit it differently, so it looks like they're all sort of in cahoots together and having different conversations. But so I sort of like the magic of it is how they produce it, but also there's that thing thinking, well, how do they not convince the other contestants who's a traitor? They must do it in a good way. They must lock everyone away. But it's weird when you watch it, because I'm like trying to decipher how we get to that without other people realizing who's missing or whatever.
The other thing I was thinking, so they say, I mean, it's midnight, so that's the killing hour. So you all need to go to bed then. And the place is massive, isn't it? I mean, it's a proper like castle. I think the scenery, the setting and everything is stunning. But, they go off to bed, and then they've got to do their individual interviews, haven't they? Where they're being candid to the camera and saying, oh, yeah, Paul's saying about, basically fooling everyone. And, so there's that. They've got to do that at a certain time. Then the traitors have to meet up, and like you say, it's going to be tough, isn't it? Because if the rooms are all sorted together, wouldn't the curtains be twitching a little bit? Yeah.
Or the door, you'd hear a door go, wouldn't you? Or someone walking. Is the back passages out of the rooms, or I don't know. It doesn't matter, because it's a great entertainment. But for me, I always sort of intrigued how the other, because if you were next to me and you were a traitor or I was, and it's an old house and it's a big fucking mansion thing,
you can hear the door open.
Yeah, the WD-40, the floorboards are going to be really like creaky, aren't they? You're going to have all these things. So that's what I'm not sure. I'd like a little bit of, after the series finishes, how do you keep people away from finding out they're a traitor? Just for me more than anything. Whether that might ruin the show, I suppose, but it's intriguing watching it. Because what I'm thinking is like, how real is it? When they're doing all this, because it seems dead real. I just hope it's not a complete like scripted load of nonsense where they just don't mention things, or they know people are traitors or not. If something goes wrong they must have guards outside the rooms or something, so they can't leave the room. Must be something.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but the other thing I was thinking, so when they all turn up for breakfast, the traitors go off and then they film, so you have the kind of witching hour, go to bed at midnight, and then they'll have to go off and film, okay, we're going to kill this many people, or this is the person we're going to murder, and the rationale for it and everything. So by the time they've filmed all of that, you're thinking, it must be like 3:00 or something. If that was me turning up for breakfast, I'd just be absolutely knackered.
Yeah.
So you'd be able to tell I was a traitor straight away, because I had bags under my eyes, and I'd be knackered and not ready to speak to anyone human. So I don't know, or maybe they film that before. Maybe it's not actually, they show it to us after everyone's gone to bed, but maybe they filmed that before, and like you say, maybe they've just separated everyone out, and so everyone's quite isolated, so no one has a clue, where, or these three people, they keep disappearing. Or, well,
I'm just going for a smoke. Wink. You know what I mean?
I'll be an hour.
Yeah, I'll be back. Should we go and do yoga together? Yeah. Come on then, Ash and Paul. Yeah, let's go. I'm with you. And like I say, I'm probably thinking too much into it, but there is that little bit of me knowing the bullshit reality shows that we watch and that fakeness to it. That I'm like, please don't lose that intrigue and that realness of this, because I love it. I do love what we've watched so far again.
Yeah, I think it's been really strong. And I'll tell you the other thing. So the traitors, I talked about the three, but they recruited Miles quite early on, didn't they?
Yes.
And in season 1, they didn't try and recruit until, I think it was like episode 4 or 5 or something like that. It got much further in before they tried to recruit. And I don't know if you remember, but they actually tried to recruit Alex
Yes.
So Alex and Tom were the boyfriend and girlfriend combo, and basically put a target on their own back. And she refused it. So when they put the request out to Miles, I was thinking, well, is he going to say yes, or is he going to reject it as well? But I think you've got to take it on, haven't you? I think the reason Alex in season 1 rejected it was they'd already been through an emotional roller coaster, and so they could see, just fucking crying, wasn't there? Shouting, tears, arguments, and everything in season 1. People got really passionate about it, and I think that's one of the things that draws people into the show. Talk about how much, and obviously it's produced, isn't it? So there's an element of we're seeing what they want us to see, but a lot of the raw emotion that comes out as well is, you can't fake a lot of that stuff. So, yeah, what do you think of Miles sort of accepting?
I think, I do laugh, Dave. Miles is about 6'4". When they go in as the Traitors,
yeah,
they're heighting everyone. It's like, I wonder who that is under there, or who's this? Who's Miles? Like, he's the biggest bloke there, I think, tall wise. But I think he's done well. But I do think in the 3rd episode, there was a little bit of like, you could see he was struggling to sort of keep it under wraps. And then I think when they were on the round table, it was sort of like, you could clearly see the Traitors trying to deflect. And Miles had played a great game. I think him and Paul done really well. But then I don't know, there was just something in that 3rd episode, because it's one of them things, Doff who protests the most. You can't keep doing that. Yeah. Not just at Miles, you can't keep. I was saying to you off the podcast yesterday, we were chatting, and I was like, I don't understand how, when they're on the table, these people who are traitors, how they maneuver, and nobody, Ash seems to be the one that people are a bit suspicious of now, but the others, they're not even in the conversation. And that went on last series, because as we've seen already, they are fucking terrible judges of character, because they're going after the completely wrong people, aren't they? Aubrey got voted off. It looked like a character, looked like someone who could play in the game. And that was very strange, because we didn't really feature him a lot. And he seemed really bubbly, really at the train station. I thought, this is going to be an interesting character. I think it'd be really good as a traitor, because of he seemed to be everyone's friend. But then he just jettisoned off. See you later, wasn't he? It was a bit of a strange one.
Yeah, Diane was very upset with that one. I mean, she said, he's too observant. And he just sits there watching everyone, and you could tell he was going to be really invested. And so, if I was a traitor, I'd probably get rid of him as well. I think he's just too dangerous. You need people to be a bit more aloof, and just a bit ignorant to the things that are going on around them. But I just felt like, I don't know what it was about him, his kind of look, his demeanor and everything. I just thought, he's going to be a kind of big character in the series. But yeah, he was just dumb. Pretty early doors, wasn't he?
Yeah, see you later. And then they went after Sonia. 66. She's the lady who was supposed to be donating all her winnings if she won it, Dave. I think it's like an animal sanctuary, something like that. She was like a free spirit, wasn't she? And all this and chatting away. But again, fucking rubbish judges the character. And I mean, she didn't help herself when she was around the table and they were going at her and sort of voting and chatting. And she sort of played up to it, didn't she? But it was that well, actually, I'm a faithful, and everyone's like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" Again, this last series was brilliant, wasn't it? They fucking had a terrible run of going after the wrong people completely, and that surely, as it's going, if you can sit there and try and analyze what's going on, you should be able to somehow work out, if you're not a traitor, right? Well, it's got to be. It's a process of elimination, isn't it? As that fucking that thing gets smaller and smaller, the room gets smaller and smaller, like the Star Wars day when they're in the garbage compactor. As that room's getting, this is a great analogy, Chris. As it's getting smaller and smaller, the choice of traitors is there front and center, isn't it? So you'd think somebody would have an idea without. We've also trying not to get themselves booted off as well at the same time.
So the way they defend themselves. What you just said about, going through the process, process of elimination logically. What we saw in season 1 is those sort of people are the ones who get singled out with this Lord of the Flies approach to selecting who should go. It's like, oh, well, he's too intelligent. He's obviously a traitor. So, the thing with Sonya was weird because the little, it's like the butterfly effect almost. Butterfly flapping its wings creates a tornado the other side of the world kind of thing, and it stemmed back from this comment that Zach said. So Zach is an interesting character as well. He's one of these people with no filter and just says kind of jokes that just no one finds funny. And I just think he rubs people up the wrong way. And he'd said a comment that, what is it now? Something like, I'll sleep well tonight.
Yeah.
Even though, he didn't have a shield, and everyone's thinking, well, why would you sleep well tonight? I'm not, so everyone's thinking, well, he must be a traitor. And so I think because Ross, and I don't know why he would do this, he'd say, oh, well, that's just Zach, isn't it? This guy who I've known for 2 days, just Zach, isn't it? Why would he make that comment? No, Ross, why wouldn't you suspect everyone by default? Why would you give someone a free pass? So for me, that is a clue that might be a red herring, but it might not be as well. So you've got to kind of be open about that. So sorry, go ahead.
No, I think you're right. And I think also the traitors do a good job of steering people towards someone, because when they know who the traitors are. So if you've got Diane picking fucking, I don't know, we'll talk about Ross. Say you pick Ross, we know what's going on, but say you pick Ross. Mm-hmm. And then she went, he's a traitor. Well, the traitors are then going to go, well, I thought the same, because they're going to deflect away from themselves, aren't they? So straight away, if two faithfuls are at loggerheads, and the traitors are aware, you've got 5 people going at that person to try and stay that person out. And then you're trying to direct the rest of the table to that person, because they know that that's another person struck off the list. So it's clever the way they do it. It's the subtle comments, and that's where I think Paul was very good. However, I still love the fact that he just from absolutely nowhere, just went, I think Jazz is. And then Jazz is like, what the fuck? I've not done anything. He's hardly featured. He sat there like, hey. Like he was like, what, like a Scooby-Doo thing, like, like, it's him. What? Hey, I'm the fucking, I'm just sat minding my own business. And that's the only thing I think with Paul where there was a little bit of sort of, a little bit of panic in him, because from nowhere, Jazz just got picked out, and that was a classic. It's him. And everyone went, oh, hang on a minute, he could be right. It was very good gameplay, but if not a little bit desperate as well. So whether that unravels, I don't know. But I love that around the table. I mean, Diane is a fucking gobshite, isn't she, Dave? She wants to be front and centre. Everyone thought that Paul was a son. I did love the reveal. She went, Paul isn't my son, but Ross is. Now, Ross hasn't got a Scottish accent. Everyone went, well, Paul's ginger. He's Scottish. It's like, these fucking things you're coming up with are just, they're just silly. So it's Ross, and you can't really tell. He's got the perfect glasses and the beard on to hide them features he's obviously got from his mum, but he's finding it hard to call her Diane and not mum. So that might come back, Dave. That could be the old, because in The Great Escape, when it's one of the Great Escape where one of the guys off the professionals, he's getting on a train and he gives his passport, his like French passport or whatever, or German passport, and then the guy goes, good luck, and he goes, thanks, and they're like, oh shit, and he runs off and gets fucking shot sort of thing. But he's done all this German, he speaks German, he's fine, and then as soon as he speaks English, he like reveals, and it's like, I wonder whether he'll turn around and go, my mum or someone's having a dig at Diane. Will he get defensive? That's what I want to see. Because when it was the couple last year, they played it well, didn't they? It was quite separate from each other. And then he fucked it all up for him. But
Billy's like, she's my girlfriend. That's how I know she's a faithful. Fucking bellend.
This could work really bad, because what they could do in theory, Dave, say Ross becomes a traitor. He didn't have to tell his mum, because I presume they're going to split the money. So he could fucking maneuver kicking her off to hold his position, or she could do the same. She comes a traitor. She could go straight away and boot him off. And just to sort of prove if there's a little bit of thingy. So that could be really interesting how that plays out. It might not work as a team. It might work against them, but in the end, they might end up winning, one of them.
Maybe. I mean, I was thinking about this yesterday, that having someone else in there, I mean, does it help your chances? Does it really double your chances, or does it hinder you? are you better to be a kind of lone wolf, be everyone's best friend, to their face, but actually if you're a traitor, or even if you're a faithful, you've got to look after number one, haven't you? First and
Yes.
foremost, and again, it's such a counterintuitive thing to do because it's not generally how people navigate your lives. But I was thinking, I'm not sure if it is better because going back to season one, yeah, that Alyssa was the first traitor to be singled out, and she basically got singled out because there was a bit of suspicion around her, but one of the other traitors, Wilf, absolutely threw her under the bus, and that was it. She was gone. But earlier, the flip, the opposite had happened. So there was a bit of a discussion, in the lounge or smoking room or whatever, and someone was starting to talk about Wilf, and she was directing to someone else. She was directing to Aaron. She was saying, "Oh yeah, well I think Aaron." So she was backing up her other traitor, whereas Wilf just completely threw her under the bus the other way and ended up, doing quite well out of it. You got to the final and stuff. So I think you've got to look out for number one. And I think with Ross and Diane, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to work for them. I just think it's more of a hindrance. So, I mean, it's only like 51%, 49% in my mind, but I don't think it's good to have that, that ally who could actually be a traitor.
Yeah, and that's fair. That's fair. I think you're right. I think, and also Dave as well. If you look at, like, we talked about this with, I said, is there going to be any wannabes on the show or people who've been in other stuff? And the only one that we come across, and she got voted off anyway, was Kira. She's done The Apprentice. She's done something else. She's been on this. She's done 2 or 3 different shows. And I thought she'd be quite prominent because someone who's a veteran of reality TV, and she was pretty much kicked off straight away. She didn't really do much, did she? To be fair, I thought she was going to be quite strong, but again, it does shock me with this. The last season was the same. We talked about Aubrey and different characters last season. The ones you think are going to be front and center, they seem to just get see you later. So that was interesting sort of dynamic.
I'm not quite sure. I can't quite remember the rationale to get rid of Kira, but I think the group sort of turned on her a little bit, didn't they? But it's a delicate balance. So again, they've introduced the shields quite early on here, whereas in season 1 they only appeared later on.
Yeah,
and so it was usually like a group. Excuse me. Like a group activity, and you'd go in and randomly you'd select this little chest and open it up, and maybe you've got a shield in there or something. Whereas for the challenges, when they had to untie themselves, they could either help other people or go for the shield. And Kira's like, I don't want to be murdered, I'm getting the fucking shield. Then I'll help everyone else. What is it they say on a plane, isn't it? Sort yourself out before you try and help others. So she did that, but Zach in particular took that quite badly, didn't he? And he's muttering away that oh, going for the shield, yada yada. But I can't. I think it's a toss of a coin how the group take that. I mean, look, guys, it's a game. There's a fuckload of money up for grabs here. I don't want to go off the show. Why wouldn't you get the shield? But it's this weird thing, isn't it, where people are I guess, again, looking for any small little thing, and they know in the previous season, like, some of the traitors did get the shield, and that's better for the traitors, isn't it? Because they know if I've got the shield, it narrows down. I can murder who I want. So yeah, I just thought it was interesting the way the group dynamic changed after Kira went for the shield.
Yeah, and you're right, and I think. Look, it's a game plan. There's money at game plan. It's a game. There's money at the end of it. I don't know. I'd play on it, Dave. It's brilliant watching it. I love the psychology of it. And when people think they're really good, it's a bit like one of them things, isn't it? Usually the loudest person in the room is the weakest. And that's what we're finding out here. The ones who are saying less, trying to stick back a bit, that, they're not getting the airtime, but they may become more prominent as the show goes on, and that's what's really good. However, Dave, the greatest thing I've seen on these 3 episodes is basically somebody telling the police to come and arrest them for something they haven't done. Talk about the A-team. Brian, fuck me. He got in such a fucking tiz, and he absolutely exposed himself as a traitor, and he's not even a fucking traitor. And I was like, what are you doing? Shut the fuck up, Brian. He absolutely just got completely lost in it, and it become verbal diarrhea. And when you frame it with, what does everyone think about me? Well, everyone rolled their sleeves up and went, well, you fucking asked, Brian. Here we go. I thought that was excellent TV, Dave.
It was. And you made the old Eric Hitchmo reference before, but I'm sure it was the same episode when, no, it was the redundancy office episode, wasn't it? Where David Brent's sort of going, do you trust me? Do you trust me? And everyone has to sort of sheepishly go, yeah. And anyway, he walks out the room and Garrett's like, who trusts me?
Yeah.
It reminded me of that. But yeah, Brian, that was a spectacular own goal, wasn't it? I mean, if he goes, he can't blame anyone else, really. If you were around that table and you weren't sure, after that performance, I'd be thinking, yeah, this guy's crumbling under the pressure. You know, it must be a little pressure to be, a traitor. And this guy looks guilty as hell, but he wasn't. And I think if you're going into this show, you should have a pre-prepared defense on why you're not a traitor. Because you see them several times. As soon as someone accuses them, they absolutely crumble. Whereas you'd be thinking, well, you might be, you might not be, but just think about how are you going to defend yourself? Because, again, I'm sort of confusing it with season 1 now in my mind, but, some of them, it gets to them and they're like, well, I know I'm a faithful, but I guess, if I stand up there, I'll tell you all I'm faithful and you'll know that you're wrong. I'm like, it's not the greatest defense though, is it? Because anyone could say that. There should be other reasons as well, things that you've done which show you to be a faithful. So yeah, it's on a knife edge now, isn't it? Because I think Ash and Brian have the same number of votes with 1 vote left to go that we'll see in episode 4. And honestly, I can't wait because I kind of want Ash to because I think, didn't Harry pick Ash? It's kind of what happened in season 1, yes, where the traitors start to turn on each other. So I kind of want Brian to go, probably, just so Ash can come back into the traitors' den or whatever they call it.
Kick off,
yeah. Be like, what the fuck, you bunch of bastards? Because we haven't seen that, have we? We haven't seen a traitor select another traitor, and then they have to face the music.
No. I think Ash maybe will be gone, Dave, because I don't know how that's going to work. Because Ash could basically unravel all their game plans unless they come back to Ash with a fucking rationale reasoning. But for me, it wasn't. It was just them protecting themselves. I thought it was great. Fucking brilliant again. Yeah. I love. We've talked about this now for over half an hour, and I can't wait. And I'm gutted it's not on now till Wednesday because it was on when it's on Wednesday to Friday 9 o'clock 3 nights, and I'm hoping that once the first episode drops Wednesday, the other 2 drop on the iPlayer again like they did this week, so I don't have to wait because it's really great TV. It really is, mate. I'm so pleased we're covering it and just chatting about it. We're messaging each other separately as well. It's brilliant, and that's when it's a completely different TV show to what we normally cover. But I am so glad we're on this one because it's been excellent to watch.
Yeah, it is. And, fears about season 2, would it be better? Well, it started off really well. And I just think that they've accelerated some of the things, like I say, the recruiting another traitor. Because I don't think we saw 4 traitors before. So that's quite a big proportion, isn't it, of the whole group? I don't think we saw that in season 1. The Shield's making an appearance earlier. So, they're speeding things up a bit. And, Claudia Winkleman sort of said, this season's going to be even more brutal. Well, fucking hell, that's quite a high bar. So yeah, honestly, I can't wait.
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And thank you, everyone who's been listening, everyone listens to the preview episode. A lot of our friends, if you go over to Facebook, Chris and Dave's Reality TV Cast, get over there, get into the chat. People are directing people. If you've got a VPN, how to watch it on the BBC iPlayer, and there's links as well that are on like stuff like Daily Motion on the Facebook front page if you're outside the UK. So please get on there. It's been brilliant, guys. A massive thank you again. This is going to be a 4-part series for us that we cover in 4 podcast episodes, but it really is worth the wait if you're sort of on the fence. It really is. If you want to email us, cdrealitycast@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on social media @cdrealitycast. As always, if you do want to support us a little bit more, and a massive thank you to everyone who supported us past and present, please get over to patreon.com/cdrealitycast. So the roll call of honour for today, and a big thank you to Devi Sims, Andreas, Nick, Danielle, Kim, Amanda, Larissa, Helen, Nicola, Emma, Fiona, Cassie, Megan, Maggie, Zoe, Gillian, Keith, Helen, Chloe, Noreen, Joanna, Libby, Katie, Dee Dee, Susan, Hennessy, Lauren, Lucky Lulu Green, and Ken Gustafsson. So thank you so much, guys. Amazing support again. It's so humbling seeing so many people supporting us, and we really appreciate it. And I cannot wait. So we'll get the next episode out next week. So you've got a week to go at this one, and please enjoy it because it's been great fun.
And I know we've dropped a few little spoilers here and there for season 1, but honestly, if you're listening and you haven't watched season 1, definitely watch that as well. It's a really great season. But Chris, it's been brilliant to speak about. Like you say, we've gone a bit longer than normal today, but it's just so much fun to talk about, and so much. We obviously covering 3 episodes and the major things, but you could speak quite a bit longer about this, and I'm just so excited for it. But thank you very much, sir. Thanks for chatting with me today. Thanks to all our listeners out there. Thanks to all our supporters, and we'll speak to you next time.
Bye.